Welcome back to Disc Golf Daily, everyone. I know I'm not a familiar face. My name is Ben Kenney. Steve asked me to kind of lead this part of Disc Golf Daily, which is the interviewing people that change disc golf for the better. And safe to say, I guess, revolutionized disc golf. And we have a revolutionary right here, Caleb from Pure Disc Golf. Caleb, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Ben. I appreciate you and Steve thinking of me when this opportunity popped up. I'm excited to have a conversation.
I know, first guest. I mean, and that's gotta be cool. I mean, you're the first person that popped up in our heads.
Yeah, I don't get texts from Steve Dodge very often, so when I do, I try to respond as quickly as possible. I think my wife and I were on vacation, and I was surprised I had cell phone service where we were in California. But I saw Steve Dodge on my phone when I first woke up at like 6 a.m. I was like, oh, cool. And got back to him immediately. So I was stoked when he mentioned that you would be doing the interview, as we've gotten to know each other a little bit over the past few months.
Yes. If you don't know, Northeast Disc Golf Expo, Caleb vended there, and I'm the owner of the Northeast Disc Golf Expo. So yeah, we definitely got to know each other over the past year or so, ever since MVP, which has been awesome. So enough about me. Let's talk about you in Pure. But first, I just want to go into your background a little bit before Pure was ever an idea. Like, just tell us about yourself and who you are and kind of what you do / what you did.
Cool. Yeah. So my disc golf origin story begins in the late 90s. I had a good friend come back from summer camp, and I was, raised in a household where we were playing outside until like 5 p.m. So when he got back, he's like, hey, let's go to the park and play disc golf. I had no idea what that was, but we started playing target golf for fun. And then it was about 2002 when we had a course installed nearby. So that's when I started playing on traditional baskets and, by traditional rules. So I played my first C tier in 2006 and played a B tier in 2014, but I have a hilariously high PDGA number despite that. I paid the $10 to not join because I was broke both those times. So as far as like education goes and kind of how it relates to my current project, graduated with a degree in industrial design. So focusing on like creating new things that people interact with, primarily physical objects. So that could be like kitchen tools or remote control. But I've also branched out into user experience design. So something like a digital app interface that you interact with when you download and use Pure. So it was about like mixed in there. I have a smattering of jobs. My most recent one was brewing beer industrially. But I stepped away from that about 2 years ago. Didn't have many friends and didn't have a job. So I'd go to my local disc golf course at like 9:30 in the morning on a Tuesday and look at my watch and say, all right, 20 minutes. And if someone shows up, I'll see if they want to play. And it took about 3 months, but my two best disc golf friends now I met doing that. And that was the inspiration for Pure, because I was decent and reasonably outgoing. So that process wasn't scary to me of like shoulder tapping and meeting strangers. But if I was new to the sport, introverted, or a beginner, like what I did might be terrifying, to some individuals. So thinking about how I could use digital technology to help people new to the scene find community and people who are already in the scene grow their community is kind of the driver of Pure.
So this was actually one of my questions in the future. Was that sort of, before we get into what Pure actually is, which it is a fascinating app that everyone should check out. I'm on it, so add me.
Sweet.
Was that your like aha moment for developing this app? Just realizing like I just created 2 lifelong friends that most people don't have, or was it other factors that kind of led you to this point, or was that it? Was that like I got to do something about this?
Yeah, I don't think there was like one specific aha moment, but there was like a lot of these little sort of, I guess, side quests, you could say, of like me trying to get plugged into my local disc golf scene, or me trying to join a club and sending an email and then not getting any response for like 2 weeks. So there was a lot of these like little pain points I encountered. And I was kind of thinking about how to address those. But finding my two best disc golf friends through that process was sort of the straw that broke the camel's back and like led to the approach that I took, with the connect, play, and improving being the focus of the app.
So let's just get straight into the app. What exactly is Pured, and why should people download it and use it?
Sure. So our slogan and the main three areas of Pured are connect, play, and improve. You can find nearby disc golfers with similar skill level and a similar schedule. You can post or join upcoming rounds that you intend to play, or someone else is playing, and you can go meet up with them at that course at that time. And then the improve section, tons of great content online, but it's all scattered. So I've taken existing content and put it in a feed and tagged it by skill level and topic area to make it easier to find content that like suits your needs at that time. I will preface everything I'm about to say with, this is our first release of the app. And when it comes to releasing apps, generally the first version is a bit of an experiment. And the goal is to get something to users as quickly as possible so that you can learn from them and identify the little tweaks you need to change, the additional features that make it better. I think that's been a challenge entering the market because like UDisc, for example, has been around for 12 years. So they have a little bit of a head start, and I love their product and I use it all the time, and strategically don't have scorekeeping and Pured because I want to be cooperative and not competitive with UDisc. But, people immediately compare me to UDisc because there's a social component. The immediate comparison is Facebook or LinkedIn. So I think that's been a challenge as I've kind of unrolled Pured, is setting expectations.
Sweet. That's great to hear. Kind of like, it's not always glory when you're developing these things, especially in disc golf. And it's awesome to hear that you're kind of going at it full force, and even with the challenges that, the disc golf community does need something like this. And actually, one of my favorite features that I think you have is that you can, if you're a female and want to set up a female only round and don't want to, just explain more about that, I guess.
Sure.
You can put it better than me. Put the words better than
Yeah.
me.
So I had the opportunity to listen to Sarah Hokum speak at the Disc Golf Industry Conference in 2023. And there she was talking about encouraging female playership and participation in the sport. She said two factors associated with safety were feeling physically safe and then feeling safe just trying new shots and throws without being mansplained to. The joke that I tell people at events when I'm giving my spiel is, not all guys are bad, but collectively we're the worst, and I'm sorry. Because we are sort of experiencing that in disc golf. It's historically been a male-dominated sport,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So that's where the idea came from. And the feature that's specific to women, when they post around to the community, they can check a box that says women only, and no men in the app can see that at all. I can't even see it as a creator. I had to answer a question for Erica Stinchcombe and had to ask my wife to hop on and say like, hey, can you tell me what this looks like or show me the process there? So that was, pretty funny. But that's a feature that I'm really excited about as well.
Yeah, that's an awesome feature. Just, creating a safe space for women to play with other women. It's pretty awesome that you thought of that and implemented it into the app. So you actually led straight into my next question, Erica Stinchcombe. So you have some pros assigned to the Pure team.
Mm-hmm.
What is her role in regards to the app, and how has that been going? Kind of just having professionals on the tour on your team so quickly as a startup. It's pretty impressive.
Thank you. It feels really exciting. And when I was starting out, kind of thinking about what Pure looked like in the future and sort of milestone goals that I had, having some professionals represent Pure was definitely one of those. It was fun to meet Erica, Chandler, Madison, and Greg Barsby last season and just get to know them a little bit, at events throughout the season. So when it came time to approach them and say, hey, would you want to be involved in Pure, the conversation felt pretty natural, which was cool. And I think from the outside it might seem like things just happened overnight, but there was like a lot of just little moments and like little interactions that built over time that led to the opportunity to get some professionals on the team. So good things do take time. And I think that's one thing people should remember when they're kind of venturing out into new projects like this.
Yeah, and I can attest for that. Like you vended at the expo, and you actually gave out over it was like a 15 or it was 1,000 bags with your logo on it. So obviously you were in it for the long run. You're trying to get your name out there, and you've been vending at a ton of disc golf pro tour events. Like I met you at Maple Hill. I'm guessing you were at Portland just recently.
Yep. Yeah. So I just got back from Portland. I was at the OTB Open in Stockton, which is
Yeah.
driving distance for me, which made it easier. I wanted to show up for FPO, so I went to USWDGC in Texas, and then I was at chess.com for the kickoff of the season.
Yes. So
Um,
you've been on the ground hustling. Is there a favorite moment that you have from just kind of being on the road and promoting this app that is Pured?
yeah, that's a really good question. And I know most people say there's so many moments, but pursuing this and grinding on the road has actually led to some really unique and fun moments. I think some getting to meet players who I've idolized and kind of viewed them only in context of performing on the course, and then having an opportunity to like eat a meal with them and just connect one-on-one with like the disc golf celebrity, um, removed from the situation.
Yeah.
It's been really rewarding to like connect with them on that level and get to know them a little bit better. I think like interesting, funny story that led to probably my favorite and most iconic disc golf memory I might ever have. And I rarely speak in absolutes, but I ended up meeting Sam Farrens at the Wombat 3 Challenge in LA. I went down there to support Jeff Panis with a local event that he did. And he told me a story about a prank involving Leonard Muse, who is a friend of mine up here in the Bay Area. And I was able to take that prank full circle. It happened back in the 80s. And then I sent a package with a rock that Leonard had signed, like a physical rock hidden in the bottom. And Sam was stoked on it and told me to let him know if I'm ever in LA so we could get a round in. And I hit him up in April, went down there, and ended up getting invited to the like Innova guys round. So it was Sam Farrens, Dave Dunapace, Jeff Panis, and
Oh
Jerry
wow,
Ross. Yeah, it was so much
legends.
fun, unbelievable. Those guys are hilarious, and I was able to ask some questions about like what was how was the disc golf disc received, when you launched it in the 80s. Did everyone love it? And it was really interesting to sort of get that perspective, from the source. So that's a memory that I'll cherish forever for sure.
But yeah, that sounds awesome, and it's goes to show. Like I think you're doing it right, Caleb. Where you got to put yourself out there. I mean, that's how this app kind of started. Putting yourself out there, and you just got to keep going, and these opportunities will come. And as you keep putting yourself out there more and more, then the more. My one of my favorite quotes is opportunity is when luck meets preparation. So I love that quote, and I think it's just a true testament to kind of what you're doing. So on the other end, I know you talked a little bit about your challenges, but is there any challenges that you weren't expecting, and what what challenges have you been facing trying to get this more, I guess, used by the public? Has there been any challenges with that you think you want to do better or and such?
Yeah, I think one challenge that comes to mind immediately is the just current perceptions of the Pro Tour and the PDGA and UDisc. And I guess when the announcement of the PDGA live scoring using their own technology dropped was the same time that I had a excuse me, that I had a paid partnership post with the Disc Golf Pro Tour. So suddenly the most aggressively loud voices on social media in the comment section thought that Purd was launched by the Disc Golf Pro
Oh
Tour to take
no!
down UDisc in cahoots
Oh
with the
no!
PDGA. And I'm just
Oh
like, guys, I'm literally just a dude who started a company and invested a ton of money to help grow the sport. Like,
yes,
I love UDisc. I don't know what's happening here. Um, yeah, so that was, I think, the most shocking and interesting challenge that I faced. For me personally, I don't enjoy engaging on social media. I prefer in person stuff. And that's why I don't have a comment section. There's no like button, and you don't really upload content other than images for your, profile or a round banner. But now I have to engage in social media to help get the word out. So that's really challenged, like, honestly, my mental health and just general feeling like,
yeah,
waking up and feeling good, or wake because you're excited about the work, or waking up and feeling like a little bummed out, and you have to really will yourself to hop in the comment section and try to be as nice as possible to people who view the comment section as a battleground, and I'm
yes.
viewing it as a classroom to educate, and the sort of difference in those two approaches results in feeling bummed out sometimes.
Yeah, and I can relate to you on that just personally, like just with just being an entrepreneur myself, obviously with the expos, it's like it's so much up and down because your product relies on what others, think about it and the happiness and of I guess your clientele. So it's kind of like such a stressful thing to appease them and make sure like everything's okay and make sure everything's happy. And yeah, it can do a doozy on your mental health, especially. It's just a grind. I mean, everyone thinks entrepreneurship is like the greatest thing ever, and it can be. Don't get me wrong, but it's just like sometimes it's just like you're just at the mercy of people sometimes, and it's kind of stinks.
Yeah. And one thing I didn't realize about entrepreneurship until I was in the thick of it is how lonely it can be.
Yeah.
And like a lot of days, I'm just by myself, like for the majority of it, just grinding and doing work. But you don't have this. Some people do, I guess, but I don't have an office full of like people who are eagerly excited about my mission, because I'm not at a point yet where I can have, employees or bring people on. So I intentionally will, like, I have my two best disc golf friends. I play with them in the mornings about 3 times a week, and they're great resources for me. And then I've sought out some other resources of like people in business or entrepreneurship and disc golf who can um, provide like feedback, or sometimes it's encouragement. Um, Honestly, it's just nice to connect with someone else who's doing something similar with you in the space.
Yeah. Yeah. So could you give me like talk to the people of the world who are listening to this, give them like let's say just like your elevator pitch, why they should be using Pure as opposed to posting on Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat. Why is Pure the medium that will help them find friends and disc golf buddies?
Sure. Yeah. So I describe Pure as LinkedIn before it got weird for disc golfers.
I love that.
Um, yeah. So, Facebook is the tool that we've been using for a long time. And I think the challenge with Facebook is it doesn't reward the value of information, it rewards, what information is most like catchy, or generates the most views and comments. So it's not a great tool for scheduling or finding other people to play a Flex Start Weekly or, the Flex Start Monthly. And when it comes to, I guess women's groups specifically, those are closed and private. So if you're new to the scene and a woman, how do you know they even exist? Unless you can meet people like other women who play disc golf. So, and I've heard over and over again from people, the only reason I'm on Facebook is because of disc golf. So one thing
That's
that
a
I
good
wanted to
point.
do was create a space that is just for disc golfers, that doesn't have the negatives of traditional social media, that focuses on helping people connect with other disc golfers in order to play more disc golf. I think there are some short-term benefits of just, not having the negativity of social media, letting disc golf be disc golf. There's some long-term implications of, a beginner to the sport who maybe would be like fully bit by the disc golf bug and a champion for disc golf, but they didn't have anyone to play with when they were starting out. So they just kind of put their discs on the shelf. So I think there's a benefit there too. And also, like, disc golfers historically, we always get the scraps, right? Like the local ball golf course, they give us the
The
edges of
scraps.
the, yeah, they give us the edges of the executive nine to design a course because no ball golfers are really using it. And so, like, we make some really cool stuff, but we didn't get first dibs. And like Facebook, it's not designed for disc golfers. It's not designed for coordinating and meeting up. We're just taking the scraps that we got and we're creating some really cool groups and things out of it. But in my opinion, there can be a better way. And, we can still have Facebook groups for clubs and whatnot. But I think maybe those can focus on different issues, or maybe it is a place where you share, your ace pictures and all these other cool things. And when it comes to scheduling and like finding people to play, that's where Pure can come in. And then as far as the improvement focused content, like there's awesome content online, but oftentimes it's hidden, multiple links deep on a manufacturer's website, or it's just scattered. So if you're a beginner, you have no idea where to find it. And if you're a seasoned player and a beginner asks for more info, like then you have to go home and do work and type out your link tree. So, I'm kind of solving for that extreme use case. And then I think it provides benefit to intermediate and advanced players as well, because they can find content that meets their needs as well.
Yeah, and I think that's a really cool feature, a part of Pure, that the content side, you have articles and videos and stuff like that, all pertaining to disc golf, and in a unique way, and it's kind of like a curated feed, just for you. So kind of to go off that, where do you see like Pure, let's say long term, 5 to 10 years, ideal scenario, like everything is going great, and any new features that you would like, that kind of is like I guess kind of a long shot away, if that makes sense, and like any features, I guess, any features that you would like to implement into Pure, or where do you see like Pure, just community wise and player wise, in 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
Super, super short term, a lot of like small tweaks to the app, and those are in the works. Creating private rounds, better chat features. So those are all sort of incremental changes. A big one that's happening in the next 6 months is going to be club integration. So clubs will have a profile on Pure, and they can manage their roster of paid club members, send out direct communications to the paid club members. And my longer term goal with that is a digital component to bag tags. So I love the physical bag tags and that ritual of handing it off, but I would love if there was a leaderboard on the club's page that showed, the top 50 bag tag holders.
That is
So
so
you can't
smart.
you can't win the one tag and then dip out. Like, people know you'll have it. But if you beat me and I hand you my tag, and in Pure we indicate that you won a match, and so they swap in digital space, I can provide a report to the club for the end of the season. So, it's like Matt had the most bag tag defends. Like Ben finished with a 1 tag. Caleb was a jerk who was traveling for 2 months and held on to the 3 tag. Like this person had the most improvement. This person played the most tag rounds. So like there's a lot of fun stuff that could result from that.
Yeah.
And then in, like I guess having a digital component to a physical thing, not quite an NFT, and that's a bit of a buzzword, but similar concept. 5 to 10 years from now, I could see you going to a Pro Tour event and you get a notification in Pured that there's like a pop-up sale at the DGPT retail trailer, and only, a select group of people maybe get it. And they can walk over, scan it, and then they get 25% off, like some sort of commemorative disc. So I think there's like a lot of interesting ways that we can use digital technology to amplify and improve like the physical experience of things as well.
Yeah. I think, I'm excited for that feature because that sounds super exciting, and that's super smart targeting the clubs, because I know like there's one in New York, like Discap, and it's like 100 something tags, and if they had an organized list of kind of like, it would just make a lot of clubs' lives way easier, where they can just see the itemized list. All right, this is who has here, this is who's here, and this is who has a tag now, and making it so much easier rather than just like, I like that you can give the stats, the defends and travel. That's hilarious. So
Yeah.
as we wrap up, you mentioned before we kind of got on skateboarding, and this is what I want to end off with. So you said that skateboarding is a better sport to compare disc golf to than ball golf. I just wanted you to elaborate on that, because I'm fascinated and intrigued about it. That's why we saved it for
Cool.
now.
Yeah. So obviously there's a ton of similarities between our ball golf and disc golf, of just the sport, the way we play it, sort of the culture of the cards. But ball golf has been around for like 200 years. So if you give disc golf 200 years, like we'll naturally probably evolve to a pretty, I guess a better space monetarily, like participant numbers wise and everything. But if you look at something like skateboarding, it started counterculture in the second half of our century. We'll exclude the fruit cart, like handmade skateboards. We'll look at late 50s with a ski skate, 60s, 70s, and so forth. Started as counterculture, became a subculture, and then very recently moved into the mainstream. So I think looking at skateboarding and understanding how they made that jump, or slow crawl, with like kind of Hail Mary at the end, might be a better use case as we consider how we move forward in disc golf. I think one thing that's interesting about skateboarding too is how it started as a toy, then became serious equipment that professionals use. Snowboarding would be another good similar use case, because they actually weren't allowed to participate on ski resorts, and then slowly they were allowed to participate at ski resorts in certain areas, and now snowboarding is more popular than the incumbent, which was skiing. So learning from them how they navigated the nuances of an existing legacy sport that had been around for a very long time, kind of looking down upon them, but they were still able to, have their part of the mountain, and then eventually become the most popular activity on the mountain. I see more kind of similarities there than I do with ball golf. Not to say we can't learn from all sports, but in my mind, those two are the most intriguing. And then I think one thing to add there, just to challenge folks at home who are listening, we talk a lot of times about disc golf becoming mainstream, but it seems like the conversation stops there. So I'm curious, like, what people think disc golf will look like when we are mainstream, and like, what do we want disc golf to look like when we are mainstream? Because those might be two different things. Like, as we evolve into the mainstream, that may look differently than what we envision ourselves to look like when we do get into the mainstream. And I think those conversations will be really interesting. And if we start having them sooner than later, they may help us refine our approach to being accepted, in our local communities, at ball golf courses, wherever.
That's a great point. And I appreciate you bringing that up. And I hope someone listening got some useful information out of this and would want to check out Pured. So Caleb, let us know where any shout outs or anything. Let us know about Pured and where they can find it, or where they can find you.
Sure. Yeah. So Pure Disc Golf in the Apple or Android app stores. So Play or App Store. It's free to download. This is version 1 that we've launched. So I have a lot of improvements and features that I'm excited to release. The way that you can help me do that sooner than later is positive review in the App Store, telling your friends about it, use some of the features now, be an early adopter. And those little things go a very, very long way. But it should be, we'll say, late summer that some of these new features will be dropping. And I'm really excited about those coming down the line. So yeah, get out, play more often with more people, and hopefully Pure can help you do that.
Sweet. Awesome, Caleb. Thanks so much for joining. Really appreciate it. This has been Disc Golf Daily. Make sure to leave a rating, like, comment, subscribe, do all this stuff. Again, Caleb, thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Ben.
Yep. See you later.
Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. It really does help us grow.